Deanne LaFave, an audiologist. Hearing tests say more than you think. What your hearing test provides besides, well, how do you hear, when you should get tested, and how you can protect your hearing. LaFave is an audiologist and assistant professor of practice in the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences at the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Health Professions. She earned a bachelor's degree in speech and hearing sciences and master's in audiology from Texas Tech University. With more than 37 years of experience, including 17 working closely with ear, nose, and throat physicians, LaFave has performed diagnostic test batteries, including vestibular testing and hearing aid dispensing for patients of all age. This is really important, really helpful information. Deanne LaFave and Karen McKay.
Well, I have to admit, I have learned so much talking to Deanne and realized how much I did not know about hearing tests and about being an audiologist. She's an audiologist, which I found out what it means is she's a specialist in hearing loss, tinnitus, and balance disorders. So that's what we're going to talk about. But first, tell us what a hearing test can reveal that we might not expect.
Well, Karen, for one,
real close.
it can reveal, I can know by your hearing test if you did too much clubbing in the 80s and around loud music. I can tell if you're a hunter, and I can also probably figure out if you're a truck driver with an 18-wheeler. The pattern of the hearing tells us a lot about your overall health. So usually those type losses will have a dip in their hearing. It's called a noise notch. And that indicates to us automatically that you've been exposed to too much noise, too many loud sounds. You can also come in, the reason I think this is important to tell everyone this is we have dizzy patients that come in, and I'll say, okay, we have our battery of dizzy tests we're going to do, but we also need to do a hearing test. And the patient's like, oh, my hearing's fine, I don't need that. Well, we do need it because even if your hearing is normal, it might have a pattern that helps us to see why you're dizzy, why you're having the dizziness. An example is we test low pitches to high pitches. You know, you raise your hand when you hear the beep. It can all be normal except for the lowest pitch might be down slightly. We test you with an insert or a headphone on, and then we also test your inner ear. So we test two different ways, and if this inner ear is hearing much better than through the insert or headphone, we know that you might have what's called superior semicircular canal dehiscence, which is a long word that means in your balance organ, there might be a little thinning in the bone. And that makes you feel like the floor is moving, or you feel like you're moving, or a loud sound can induce that. You can also hear, which I find this interesting, that you can hear your internal body movements and things really loud. You can hear your eyes blink, your eyeballs move. Yeah. You know, you can hear all these sounds when you have this certain condition. So just by doing that test, which comes out normal, except for that one thing, it gives us a lot of information about your overall health and what's going on. Another pattern is if you have normal hearing, but you have the tinnitus and ringing in your ears, it can indicate that you might be pre-diabetic. Your hearing can be normal, you have ringing in the ears, it could mean that you have hyperthyroidism. So it's not just listening for beeps and raising your hand. A lot of dizzy patients will hear roaring in their ears. It's a different type of tinnitus, and they will have a fluctuating low pitch loss. So that indicates to us, before we do our further testing, that you might have Meniere's syndrome. All the tests that we do, it connects together. It's like a puzzle. We have to put the pieces together. So we usually do multiple tests on patients when you come in, so we can get the whole picture of your health and what's going on, not just simply how you hear. It's important to know how you hear. It's important to know if you need amplification, but it's important to know, why is it causing that? Why is that way? Truck drivers will tend to have more hearing loss on the left side, but also you can have a difference in your hearing in the high pitches if you have a growth on your auditory nerve. So, you know, if you have asymmetry in your hearing, if you have just ringing or tinnitus in one ear, that's a big red flag to us. So, and also just figuring out Do you need a hearing aid? Will a hearing aid help you? We're also just looking at all these different things. Overall health, we're here at the health fair. I think it's important for everyone to know, we've heard it 100 times, you need to watch your blood pressure. High blood pressure can also affect your hearing, make your hearing worse. Diabetes can also make your hearing worse. Anything that has to do with the vascular system or the small blood vessels, if you have damage to those, it can affect these other parts. We also need to know, another odd kind of noise in your ear is some people will say, I feel like I have a river, I feel a rushing river in my ears. And a lot of times it doesn't really have anything to do with your hearing or the inner ear or even so much the middle ear. It's TMJ. A lot of times patients with that mandibular joint syndrome, where it hurts when you push on your ear or open your jaw too loud, causes that sound in your ear. Also, it's important if you have a thumping or whooshing tinnitus, it'll sound like whoosh, 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 and especially just in one ear. That can mean that you have maybe a growth behind the eardrum. It's not a cancer growth, anything like that, but a slow growing little tumor behind the eardrum. But also, more importantly, a little bit more importantly, it can mean that your carotid artery is plugged. And that can be very dangerous and can cause a stroke. So when patients come in and they say, I've got this sound in my ear, we always want to know, one ear, both ears. What does it sound like? So we get all these details, ask you 100 questions to try to figure out what's going on with your whole body, your whole health system.
You see what I mean? She told me a little bit about that before we started, and I thought, wow, I had no idea that a sound in your ear could be a clue to so many different health problems. Mm-hmm. So does that mean then if you fix the problem, say blood pressure, get your diabetes under control, then does the hearing return?
A lot of times when you're at that point, the hearing will not return. Okay. So then we have to deal with, how do we help you hear better? How do we help you cope with this? And you want your blood pressure better, but a lot of times at that point, when a patient comes in and says, I'm ringing my ears, a lot of times we'll just automatically think they have high frequency hearing loss. We pretty much will know that, unless it's these other things I just talked about. But usually by then that damage has been caused, and so we just have to help you deal with what else is going on there. So with the hearing loss, and maybe we'll prescribe or recommend hearing aids for that.
With hearing, I think it's one of those things people connect it with old age. So there's a lot of denial in whether you have a hearing problem or not. People don't want to get tested because they don't want to find out, right?
Right.
So what do you say to them?
Well, what I say usually, sometimes when somebody's really in denial and they just won't face it, that yes, I have a little bit of a hearing problem. Yes, I benefit from hearing aids. I understand that. When I first got glasses, I was like, no, I got glasses now. When you do, everybody goes through that. But I do sometimes, depending on how well I know the patient, I'll say, most people already know you have hearing loss because you're saying huh and what or having to repeat. If you wear hearing aids, they're so discreet now. If you wear hearing aids, some people will come up to you and have a whole conversation and they won't realize that you have some hearing problems. But when you don't wear the hearing aids, or you want to wait and try them later, people will already know. So I think get the hearing aids so you can converse in an easy manner. And you always get a trial period with hearing aids, so it's not the end-all be-all. If you get something you're not liking and you think, oh, I tried it, I'm not ready or whatever, return them, because that's what the trial period is for, to try different things and do that. I also tell patients a lot of times they'll say, I'm not gonna try them till I have to have them. And when we test also your word recognition ability, how you can hear small, short words in quiet and in noise. And if your score, when we test you, we talk at a volume that's comfortable for you, so it'll be louder. But if you get, 76%, 82% of those words right, that's pretty good. That tells me that if I give you volume, you're going to understand well. It's going to be easy to adjust to the hearing aids. If you wait and wait and wait, and your hearing sensitivity might not change that much, but what's going to change is your ability to understand the words. So if you come in with a score with 28%, say, okay, I've got to have them now, it's almost like you wish you hadn't waited that long, because it's so hard to adjust to them then. Your 28% understanding might go up to 60%. And then the patients will be like, well, it doesn't help me. I miss these words. It doesn't help me that much. Well, they do help, but you've waited such a long time that it'll only do so much help. It's easier to adjust when you just have a mild to moderate loss, moderately severe loss. If you wait till you're severe or profound, it's just really hard to get used to that. You've gone years probably not hearing very well, and all of a sudden we're putting this thing on you and everything's louder, and it's not an easy transition that way.
I want to read you some of the comments that I've heard, and then you can give your response.
Okay, sure.
So, hearing loss just comes with age. You really can't help that.
Well, you can do certain things to help prevent hearing loss. Of course, is to wear hearing protection when you're around loud environments. Also, like we said, keep your blood pressure in check, keep your sugar levels in check, so you know that's not damaging your ears. I know, like with ringing in the ears, if you have ringing in the ears, it can be very bothersome. And if you watch your sodium levels and salt levels, caffeine can make that worse. Yeah. Also, stress can make it worse. I don't know how we're going to avoid that. Fatigue, though, some patients will say there's some days it's just so loud in my ears, the ringing. Fatigue can make that worse. And I'll say, well, did you notice that day was a really rough day and you were exhausted and all that? So all those things play a part in it. So,
let's see. I have a mild hearing issue. Probably I just need to get my ears cleaned. Would that help?
Well, maybe not. So, and it's, your doctor, your primary physician should be able to look in there and tell. For earwax to change your hearing, it has to be solid, totally blocking. Sound will go through a little pinhole. So a lot of times it's not too much wax, but it has to be in there. It has to be maybe in there a long time, and it has to fill up the ear completely to really change your hearing. So it's worth looking at. And of course, we look at ears when you come in, and if it's something we think, no, that's going to change your hearing, let's get it cleaned, and then we'll do the hearing test.
And the hearing test over here, you'll also look in their ears to see if they need.
Yes, we can. We have otoscopes in there. Yes, we can.
If I had a hearing problem, my doctor would have told me.
Which doctor?
Right.
So, well,
it's not something that's normally in your family, your checkup.
No, not usually not. I don't think I've ever gone to my PCP and they've asked me about my hearing or even noticed, sometimes. So, I don't know that's the regular thing. I think patients go to the doctor and say, "Hey, I think I am having trouble hearing." I don't know. I don't see just a general doctor doing that too much.
I may just need one hearing aid because I can hear great in one side and not the other. Is that even possible?
That's possible. Now, that's possible. You can have just a hearing loss on one side. We need to know medically, why do you have a hearing loss on one side? Because usually as we get older, we lose hearing evenly in the same. If you have asymmetry in that, we need to figure out if there's a medical problem. But yes, you can, if you have a normal hearing ear and you have an ear which is that's aidable, we can fit one hearing aid. If you have hearing loss in both ears, you need to wear the hearing aids in both ears. It's kind of like getting glasses and only wearing one lens. You only look out one eye. But as time goes by, that aided ear is likely to hold on to its understanding pretty good because it's kind of like you don't use it, you lose it. So you're stimulating that auditory system. You're listening on that side. You use that. Your understanding hopefully will stay pretty good over time. If you just don't aid one side, you will start to see a difference in your understanding for sure. So then you're lopsided after if you need them in both ears, you should wear them in both ears. Plus it helps you localize better. You know where the sound's coming from. It helps you hear better in noise. One-on-one, it might not make that difference to have the two, but when you're in a noisy environment, it does help to have two. People think, well, it just makes it louder. And it's like, no, you'll get that clarity when you have the hearing aids on to wear two.
Is it worth it to go to a drugstore and get a hearing aid there just to see if you're going to like it? The one size fits all.
Yes. Those came out with because hearing aids are expensive. Everyone knows how expensive hearing aids can be. The over-the-counter ones would only benefit you if you have a mild to moderate loss, and we have found with studies that general people think their hearing is not as bad as what it may be. So they'll go pick up one of those devices. I only have a mild to moderate loss. I only have a mild loss. And it won't benefit them the way a traditionally fit hearing aid would. I understand that people get them because the cost. I've seen also that people get them and they don't actually even fit their ear very good. And they'll come to us and I'm like, I can't help you because I can't change that. It won't go in the ear, it won't go down in as the ear as it should. Those hearing aids are fine for certain things. They are more basic. They help in noise, but they are the more expensive, the more traditional hearing aids have lots of little channels that divide the frequencies up in minute areas that we can adjust, very small changes. I can, change a hearing aid by 1 or 2 decibels, which is very minute, and it makes a world of difference to the patient. With the other type of hearing aids, it's very low pitch or high pitched, crank it up or crank it down kind of thing. It's more basic. It's fine for some people. I know of people that's what they can afford. They should get something, but I don't know. You can try hearing aids on a trial basis. So I don't know that I would spend the money to get the over-the-counter type hearing aids that you buy at the drugstore, because if they're $300 and it doesn't work, you've wasted your $300. If you go get a traditional type hearing aid, there's more basic type ones that are less expensive, but you still get that trial period, so you can return them. Wherever you go, there might be a smaller fee, like a $125 fee to return them for purposes of making impressions and all those things to cover costs. I don't know that I understand the over-the-counter ones, but they are more basic. Sometimes they don't fit. Sometimes I worry if they have controls on them where the patient's not turning them up too loudly and actually making their hearing worse. I don't know. It's just, and you don't get that when you go to get those. That's fine. Some people are real good on their smartphones and can do all the adjustments themselves, and that's great. But if you have problems, you don't really have that support. Some of the companies, like there are over-the-counter ones that are literally like $1,700 for a set. That's a lot of money. Wow. And they will have support like through a phone telehealth kind of thing. But I think the reason I talk about the medical part of it, we would want people to get the hearing test from an audiologist from the medical standpoint. And then if you're symmetrical, you've got a mild to moderate loss, and you want to go purchase one of those and try it, that's fine. But get the hearing test from an audiologist first instead of trying to do it yourself on your smartphone to make sure you're not missing some kind of medical condition that you may have.
I think the biggest complaint most of us hear is that people don't want hearing aids because they think it's just going to make noise louder. Is that more improved now in hearing aids?
Oh, so much more. Back in the day when I had hearing aids, and you back then you only did low pitches or high pitches, and you got your little screwdriver out and you turned the little knob and said, here you go, that's it, that's all I can do. They're so sophisticated now. These hearing aid companies spend millions of dollars trying to get a circuit and get a circuitry, a little chip in there that can analyze the sound. They have hearing aids now with AI in it that analyzes sound like 700 times per second. I can't, my mind doesn't, I'm too old to understand that. And so, but it analyzes the sound in the room and automatically adjusts. So when someone talks, it brings up the speech. When somebody turns on a computer fan or some kind of noise, it softens that. It's constantly analyzing those sounds. So much more clarity and so much better in noise than year before. And we still program them. Years ago, when I first got the programmable ones, it was a little box, and you pushed your little things for this little box, and it only did so much. Now it's on our computers, and we do all those small changes and multiple different types of changes. It can hearing aids these days can, if someone drops a fork in the sink or is making a loud sharp sound, it smooths it out so you're not doing this. If there is that background noise, like I said, that comes into the room, it'll automatically change. We can do manual programs if we have to. Say you go to the basketball games. Good golly, those are loud. I know, I've been there. We watched the sound level meter when they put it up on the Jumbotron, and I think, no. It's like, everybody be quiet. Everybody wants to be loud. But you can make a manual basketball program. So when you walk in there, you can push the button on the hearing aid, and it stays that way until you leave. So all the sounds are not bothersome for you and too loud. So
we are so appreciative of Texas Tech, the Health Sciences Center. They provided some medical students.
Yeah,
So
well,
students,
audiology students.
audiology
Yeah, mhm,
students
yeah.
who are back in the hearing test area testing people. They have little stations back there. So you can go back there and get your hearing tested. She said they also have the tool to look in
Look in your
and
ears.
see if your
Sure.
ear is needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem. So we hope you'll go back there and take your time to do that. Deanne, we really appreciate you being
thank
here.
you.
First, though, Matt, you want to check and see if there are any questions from the audience? Now you want to take this?
No.
First question, if vertigo exists within the ear, what causes it?
Usually, it can be that one thing where I said the bone is thinning on there. That's part of that inner ear. It can also be fluid. There's fluid in our inner ear in these canals, and that fluid can build up and kind of have swelling. And sometimes that's what, not so much an infection, but swelling in that ear. And you'll take medication to help with that. Some of it is Meniere's. It's a condition that comes on, the hearing goes down. You'll have a real bad attack at first, feel sick, go to the emergency room, think you're dying, throwing up all over. And then from there on, you'll have lesser bouts, and you might not have a bout of dizziness for years. But it's that condition of the changes in the pressure in your ear, the swelling of the ear, how the fluid flows in there. It can be that. If it's an ear problem, there's so many things that cause dizziness. It's one of the hardest things to diagnose. It can be, blood pressure problems. You stand up, your blood pressure goes down. That causes you off balance. It can be the diabetes, the vascular system. It can be, I had one lady tell me one time she came from, we tested her, and she got her gallbladder out and told me, and then she wasn't dizzy anymore. I don't know. So I was like, okay, good. I'm glad you're not dizzy. But you just have to rule things one by one. If it is truly an ear thing that's not a tumor, sometimes it's a tumor growing in there causing you to be dizzy. If it's not that, they'll send you for PT, for balance therapy, physical therapy, to get your brain to compensate for what's going on in that ear. That ear is weak on that side with that vestibular problem, and you'll do the physical therapy to get your brain to recompensate. And like, it's going to stay that way, but my brain's going to take over and get me to walk a straight line eventually once you do that therapy.
Next question. I'm not actually familiar with this. What is Madeira? What causes? Is that? Am I saying that correctly? Madeira. What is?
I don't know.
Meniere's?
Meniere's.
Okay.
Meniere's. So some of that can be a little bit, it runs in families. I don't know that we actually know what causes it. It's just, sometimes I don't think there's anything, if you're going to end up with Meniere's, anything to not, have Meniere's. It's just a condition you get. And that's with the swelling in the ear and that fluctuation, and the hearing goes down and goes up and down. So it just has to be treated.
So she said her neighbor has that and was told it's caused by an infection.
I wouldn't call it so much an infection, because an antibiotic would help it, right? To me, if it was an infected. So it's just the change in pressure and fluid that builds up in an ear.
Any other questions here? Yes, just 1 second. Can strokes affect hearing?
Yes.
So
Yes.
should you be tested after having a stroke?
Yes. Yes, you should. And you probably will notice maybe having a little bit more hearing loss on one side than the other. And it's usually the high pitches, and the understanding goes down on that side. And we've seen patients that we've seen for years, and then all of a sudden there's this little change. And then we ask them, well, what's happened to you in the last couple of years? And they will tell us. And then we're like, it's likely due to that. Yeah, that blood flow, anything that affects blood flow, oxygen to the whole body and the ears, it affects your hearing. So yes, that's true. You're welcome.
I see another question.
How often?
Oh. High blood pressure, yes. High blood pressure. Yes, well, anything that changes like your vascular system, blood flow, the oxygen getting to all different parts of your body is going to affect your ears. Yes, it can.
How often should you have a hearing test?
Yearly, usually it's yearly, and some patients will come, they just want to know if they have any hearing loss and get a baseline. And it might be slight, mild loss, and they really don't want to do anything about it at this point. And so, but we ask them to come back yearly to monitor it.
And where is that? Where are they going? Where are they making an appointment somewhere like a doctor's office or?
Well, usually to our office at the speech and hearing clinic, you have to be referred by your primary doctor. So you tell your primary doctor, I'd like a hearing test, and then they send up to us. Our ear, nose, and throat doctors have audiologists as well. And there's private practices in town with audiologists that you could go to.
You can ask your primary care.
Oh, sure. Ask your primary care.
So she'd mentioned her brother had to have tubes in the ears, then his granddaughter. So is that a hereditary condition?
I think it's, I don't know that there's like a gene that causes that, but I do think it runs in families because we have a lot of people that say, oh, my mom got tubes, and then this kid got tubes, and all these people. So, yes, it can. Usually when you have to get tubes, your station tube is not working right, not aerating right. And so little kids, we expect that because their necks are short. And so as they grow, they usually outgrow that. But we've seen tubes put in, 80-year-olds and older people. So, and it can be if you have lots of allergies, you're more prone to that because it's all related to your sinuses and your nasal pharynx. All that is related. So if you're constantly having allergy problems, you may build up fluid in your middle ear. Yeah. I will give y'all a tidbit just for fun. Y'all know William Shatner from Star Trek. He had ringing in the ears so bad when he was younger, he thought he'd want to commit suicide. That can be really dramatic to people, and so he got involved in a tinnitus association. I almost think he created it. I'm not quite sure, to help him with that. So he battled with that. The ringing in your ears can be quite bothersome and quite troubling. If you have that, come and get tested, and then we can figure out what's causing it and give you tips on that, what you can do for that. To help you with that, so it's not so bothersome.
I always thought the ringing would be like a bell, but you say it can be a lot of different kinds of noises.
It can hissing, a roaring, the swooshing, or just a constant in the ear. So yeah.
Anything else? This has been fascinating,
Okay,
Deanne.
good.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're
And then
welcome.
again, the hearing tests are available straight back at the back wall, with a lot of people are waiting there at their stations to help you out. So. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And thank you very much. And we'll take a short break here. We're actually going to have CPR demonstrations happening here in just a few minutes. Something else I forgot to mention earlier, and I think first part of this year we were busy, this and that at the station. We've yet to actually broadcast this. It's a few weeks delayed, but once again, the Texas Medical Association Anson Jones MD Award honored Karen McKay as Health Journalist of the Year across Texas once again. So she learned that a few weeks ago, and they'll be presenting that award once again because of the great work that you do, Karen. And if you did not see Thursday night, Karen's story with Lubbock Police Chief Seth Herman and about his medical challenge and the optimism that he shared, please check that story out as well, because it really was a great story. And Chief Herman said he wanted to speak about it to encourage others that, how did he say it at the end? You may have been dealt a certain hand. I forget how he worded it. It was such a powerful message about you just keep on going, and this was just a bump in the road, a major challenge, but a bump in the road for him. So again, congratulations to Karen once again, Cross Texas Health Journalist of the Year. We'll be right back in a few minutes.